My name is Michael, and for over 20 years I believe that my marriage to Rebecca was an unbreakable bond built on trust, warmth, and the simple rhythms of everyday life. We spent our days sharing quiet breakfasts, working side by side on home projects, and comforting each other through life's ups and downs. I trusted Rebecca implicitly. Her smile, her gentle touch, and the quiet assurances she offered made me believe our love was timeless and absolute. Yet, over time, subtle cracks began to form in the facade of our perfect life. Cracks that I, blinded by devotion, initially chose to ignore. It began with small, almost imperceptible details. Rebecca started spending more time on her phone late in the evenings. I noticed her glancing at the screen with a secretive smile when she thought I wasn't looking. At first, I chalked it up to harmless social media habits or casual chats with friends. But as weeks passed, I began to sense that something deeper was unfolding, a silent dialogue taking place behind her demure exterior. One autumn afternoon, when a cool breeze rustled through our living room, I happened to catch a glimpse of her phone lying on the kitchen counter. Curious and a bit unsettled, I picked it up, expecting nothing more than a few trivial messages. Instead, I discovered notifications and app icons that I didn't recognize. One in particular caught my attention. The screen displayed an account under a pseudonym that was strikingly different from the woman I knew. The profile picture was alluring and mysterious, and scrolling through the account, I found it filled with provocative posts, flirtatious comments, and intimate messages exchanged with strangers. Each image and caption was carefully curated, an artful display of sensuality and hidden desire that belonged to a person I had never seen in our quiet home. My heart pounded as I realized that Rebecca was leading a double life, one that existed solely in the digital realm. The shock was overwhelming. I reread the messages repeatedly, each word confirming that the woman I had loved and trusted had created an entirely different identity online. By day, she was the devoted wife and nurturing mother, but by night, she transformed into a seductive persona that drew admiration and lust from unknown faces across the internet. In a state of disbelief, I spent hours retracing the moments I had once dismissed as innocent. I recalled the secretive smiles, the unaccounted-for late-night absences, and even the subtle change in her tone when she mentioned past acquaintances. Each recollection now took on a darker hue, a hint that there was more to Rebecca than I had ever imagined. My mind raced with questions. When did this all begin? Who was she really talking to? And why had she kept this hidden from me for so long? That night, unable to sleep, I sat at my desk and began to document everything. I copied screenshots of the provocative messages, noted the names of online admirers, and compiled every piece of evidence that pointed to the existence of this secret digital life. The process of writing it all down felt like an attempt to exorcise a growing dread from my soul. Each line of text, each captured image, was a painful reminder that my reality had been built on lies. In the solitude of those long hours, I grappled with an avalanche of emotions. There was anger, fierce and consuming, at the betrayal that had seeped into every corner of our home. There was sorrow, deep and unyielding, for the loss of the trust one had taken for granted. And amid it all, there was a crushing sense of isolation, a loneliness that made me question the very essence of the love we had shared. Even as my heart ached with betrayal, a small, stubborn determination began to take root. I resolved that I could no longer live in ignorance. The truth, however painful, demanded to be confronted. I gathered all the evidence into a folder and prepared myself for the inevitable confrontation with Rebecca. The thought of facing her filled me with dread, yet I knew that without the truth, I would remain a prisoner of deceit, a man forced to question his entire existence every waking moment. As dawn broke the following morning, I stared out the window at a world that now seemed indifferent to my pain. I realized that this moment marked a turning point in my life, a moment when the comfortable, secure life I once knew would be forever altered. I took a deep breath and resolved that today, I would confront Rebecca with the evidence. I had to know why she had chosen to hide this hidden persona behind her loving facade, and I had to understand what it meant for the future of our marriage. The day of the confrontation arrived with an atmosphere thick with tension and dread. I had spent the previous night steeling myself, poring over the evidence and rehearsing the questions that burned in my mind. The weight of the betrayal pressed on my chest, making each breath feel laborious. I knew that the conversation ahead would not only expose the secret life Rebecca had been leading, but would also shatter the fragile remnants of our shared past. I found Rebecca in our living room, sitting quietly as if lost in thought. The soft light of the early morning cast long shadows across her face, highlighting the hints of guilt and apprehension that I had tried so hard to ignore. My heart pounded as I walked up to her, my hands trembling with both anger and sorrow. "Rebecca," I began, my voice steady despite the storm raging within me. "We need to talk." There was a long, heavy pause as she met my gaze, her eyes a mixture of regret and resignation. I placed the folder of evidence on the coffee table between us and continued. "I found these, all of these. Your secret account, the messages, the photos. Who are you really?" Her face paled, and for a moment, the silence between us was deafening. Finally, with tears gathering in her eyes, she whispered, "I never wanted to hurt you, Michael." But her voice, strained and trembling, offered little comfort. I demanded to know when it had all begun. With a heavy sigh, Rebecca confessed that for years she had felt confined by the routine of our life, a life that, despite its stability, left her yearning for excitement, recognition, and a chance to be desired. She explained that the online persona she had created was not meant to replace the person I knew, but to allow her a glimpse into a world where she could be admired and validated. "I needed to feel alive again," she said softly, her voice cracking with emotion. "I was tired of being seen only as the wife and the mother. In the digital world, I could be someone else, a woman who was beautiful, captivating, and free." Her words, though laced with remorse, cut me to the core. How could the woman I loved seek validation in a realm that was so disconnected from the life we had built together? Every piece of evidence, the flirty messages, the seductive photos, the carefully crafted online persona, now stood as a testament to a double life I had never known existed. I listened, my mind swirling with disbelief and pain, as Rebecca described the hours spent crafting her online identity and the thrill of receiving compliments and attention from strangers. She admitted that it started innocently, a creative outlet, a harmless escape from the mundane, but over time, it became a source of power and validation that she couldn't resist. With each passing moment, her confession deepened my anguish. I questioned whether I had been too complacent, too blind to the subtle signals that spoke of a secret longing in her eyes. "Do you understand what you've done?" I asked, my voice low and broken. "Not only have you betrayed my trust, but you've also built a life in the shadows, a life where I am nothing more than a ghost from a past that you've left behind." The words hung in the air, heavy with the despair of a love now turned to dust. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears as she tried to explain that she never intended to hurt me. "I still love you, Michael," she pleaded. "But there's a part of me that I've lost, a part that needed to be rediscovered." The contradiction was unbearable. How could she claim to love me when her actions spoke of a desire to escape the confines of our shared life? The confrontation spiraled into a torrent of raw emotions. I demanded answers. How long had this double life been going on? Was there a part of her that ever truly belonged to me? Rebecca's confessions, laced with regret and the bittersweet memories of a time when she felt truly desired, only deepened the chasm between us. The evidence was irrefutable, and every word she uttered was a reminder of the betrayal that now defined our existence. After what seemed like an eternity of painful revelations and tearful apologies, the conversation reached a standstill. The woman I had known for decades was now a stranger with secrets that I could not ignore. I left the room feeling as though my heart had been ripped apart, my mind filled with a storm of unanswered questions and overwhelming sorrow. That night, alone in the darkness of our home, I turned to my journal once more. Each word I wrote was a desperate attempt to process the magnitude of the betrayal and the painful truth that had shattered our life together. As I lay awake, the memories of our happier times battled with the crushing reality of Rebecca's confessions. I resolved that the time had come to decide the fate of our future. Could the shattered fragments of our love ever be pieced together, or was this the end of the road? The answer, I feared, lay buried in the ruins of a trust that might never be restored. In the wake of the confrontation, The days that followed were filled with a relentless ache and a series of discoveries that deepened the betrayal beyond what I had initially imagined. As I tried to reconcile the woman I thought I knew with the secrets that now haunted our home, I uncovered one final, shattering truth that would forever alter the course of my life. Late one evening, while sifting through some of Rebecca's old belongings in the attic, a place I had rarely visited, I discovered a hidden box. Inside, carefully preserved and locked away from prying eyes, were documents that I had not seen before. Among them were old photographs, faded letters, and official records that detailed an entire family history I had never known. My hands trembled as I uncovered birth certificates, hospital records, and other legal documents that confirmed the unthinkable. Over the course of our 30-year marriage, Rebecca had borne 10 children with different men. Each certificate was a silent testament to a life lived in secrecy, a truth that had been meticulously hidden away. The shock was overwhelming. I sat on the creaking wooden floor of the attic, the dim light barely illuminating the damning evidence spread before me. How could it be that the woman I had trusted implicitly had led a life so utterly divergent from the one I had known? Every document I held was a blow, a painful reminder that the reality of our marriage was built on layers of deception and lies. The betrayal was no longer confined to a single affair or a fleeting moment of weakness. It was a legacy of secrets that spanned decades. I felt a mixture of anger, sorrow, and utter disbelief. The discovery that Rebecca had 10 hidden children, from relationships with different men, shattered every illusion I had ever held about our life together. The fact that she had chosen to send these children to an institution, a place where they would be hidden from the public eye, only deepened the sting. It was as if she had not only betrayed me but had also rejected the possibility of a unified family, preferring instead to live in a shadowy realm of forbidden love and clandestine affairs. In the days that followed, I struggled to come to terms with this new reality. I spent hours in the attic, poring over every document, every photograph, and every faded letter. Each piece of evidence was a fragment of a story I had never been told, a story of passion, deceit, and a desperate attempt to bury a past that was too painful to confront. I began to see that the secrets were not merely about infidelity. They were about a woman who had felt trapped, who had longed for something more than the stability of our marriage, and who had paid the ultimate price in the currency of hidden lives. As the gravity of the betrayal sank in, I was forced to question everything about our shared history. I recalled the moments when Rebecca's eyes had seemed distant, when her smiles carried an undercurrent of sadness, and when her silence spoke volumes. Had I been so blinded by trust that I never noticed the subtle signs of a double life unfolding before me? The truth was a bitter pill to swallow, a realization that my entire existence had been built on a foundation of lies. That night, I sat alone in the dark, the weight of the discovery pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. I opened my journal and began to write with a fury fueled by anguish and betrayal. I documented every revelation, every document that confirmed the hidden family Rebecca had kept secret. The ink on the pages became a testament to the pain of knowing that our marriage was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion, one that had crumbled under the weight of her indiscretions. In the quiet hours before dawn, I vowed that I would no longer live in the shadows of deceit. I resolved to confront Rebecca with the full extent of her hidden past and demand answers for a betrayal that spanned decades. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with heartache, but I knew that without confronting the truth, I would be forever trapped in a web of lies and regret. Every revelation in that attic, every tear shed over the hidden letters and certificates, brought me closer to a point of no return. I understood that the woman I had once loved was now a stranger whose secrets had irreparably shattered the family we once held dear. And so, with a heavy heart and a determination born of desperation, I prepared myself for the confrontation that would forever change the course of my life. In the aftermath of the shattering revelations, I found myself standing at the precipice of a future that was as uncertain as it was daunting. The discovery that Rebecca had hidden 10 children from different men, carefully concealed in the shadows of our 30-year marriage, left my world in ruins. Yet, amid the wreckage of betrayal and lost trust, a small spark of resolve began to take root, a determination to reclaim my life and rebuild a future defined by truth, integrity, and self-respect. The days that followed were a blend of bitter sorrow and quiet introspection. I spent long hours alone, wrestling with the magnitude of the betrayal and the realization that everything I had known was built on lies. My journal became both a confessional and a roadmap, a space where I poured out my grief, questioned my past, and slowly began to envision a path forward. Each line of writing was a small act of defiance against the despair that threatened to overwhelm me, a step toward transforming my pain into strength. I sought solace in therapy, joining support groups for those who had experienced profound betrayal. In these sessions, I learned that healing was not a linear process but a gradual journey marked by setbacks and small victories. The counselors helped me see that while the scars of deception would never fully disappear, they could serve as a testament to my resilience, a reminder that even the deepest wounds could, over time, give way to renewal. Slowly, I began to rediscover parts of myself that I had long neglected, my passions, my hobbies, and the quiet joys of everyday life that had once brought me comfort. My relationship with my daughter, Emily, became a beacon of hope in the darkness. Despite the devastating truths that had fractured our family, Emily remained steadfast in her support and love. We spent long hours talking, sharing our hopes for a future free from the shadows of the past. In her innocent resilience, I found the strength to believe that we could rebuild what had been broken. Together, we forged new traditions, a simple dinner on quiet evenings, walks in the park, and moments of laughter that reminded me that even in the midst of despair, life could still hold beauty. At the same time, I made the difficult decision to confront Rebecca one final time, not to reconcile, but to seek closure and assert my own truth. I wrote her a letter expressing the depth of my pain, the irrevocable impact of her choices, and my decision to move forward on my own terms. I made it clear that while I would never forget the betrayal, I would no longer allow it to define me. This act of closure was not born out of anger alone, but of a resolute desire to reclaim my dignity and rebuild my life from the wreckage of our past. In the months that followed, the seasons began to change, and with the gradual arrival of spring, I sensed the stirrings of renewal. I dedicated myself to small acts of self-care, long walks along familiar paths, quiet moments with a favorite book, and the simple pleasure of reconnecting with old friends. Each day was a step toward healing, a conscious choice to face the future with cautious optimism. The memories of betrayal still lingered like shadows, but they no longer held the power to paralyze me. Instead, they became the impetus for a new beginning, a reminder that even when trust is shattered, the human spirit can rise again. Now, as I stand on the threshold of a future that remains unwritten, I choose to embrace the lessons of my past. I understand that the scars from Rebecca's secrets will always be a part of me, but they do not define my entire being. I have learned that true renewal comes not from erasing the pain, but from accepting it and using it as a foundation for growth and self-discovery. I move forward with a quiet determination, a resolve to build a life based on honesty, respect, and the unwavering belief that, even in the face of devastating betrayal, hope can prevail. My journey has been long and painful, and I know that the road ahead will still be fraught with challenges. But each new sunrise offers a chance to rebuild, to redefine what love and trust mean on my own terms. I refuse to let the legacy of deceit dictate my future. Instead, I choose to see the scars as symbols of my strength, a testament to the fact that I have survived the unthinkable and that I am capable of forging a brighter tomorrow.